Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we are going to speak about traveling, and specifically traveling on a budget. I didn't do a video where I sit down and talk to you in a while, so I thought what better topic to come back with than traveling. That is a big part of my channel and I'm really a person who loves traveling so much, but also I love when I don't have to pay so much for the travels and still get to see a lot of things around. So let's say this is going to be a video titled How I Afford Travel in my 20s, because I'm currently 25 and in the past year I visited over 20 cities around Europe. My travels are still based around Europe, so I'm just gonna give you some tricks and tips how I do it, but hopefully in the future I might go and explore some other continents as well. I'm gonna share with you now step by step how I plan my trips, and of course some of the things that maybe you're gonna have to lower your standards for the traveling on the budget, but that doesn't mean that you are sacrificing fun. It can still be fun, and especially if you have a good company, that's all that matters. I try to organize my thoughts in some points, so we're gonna go topic by topic. And the first topic is to plan your trip ahead. If it's possible, it's good to plan trip at least 1 month in advance, if not even longer, because then you can find a lot of cheaper offers and you don't risk places being booked. For example, recently I was going to Venice with my boyfriend, but that weekend was the opening of Biennale, so we kind of booked it late and a lot of accommodations were sold out because a lot of people came to the opening and everything was more or less booked. So we were left with some more expensive options or no options at all on the mainland that were affordable. We found a way and we stayed on another island next to Venice, but still it's always better to book in advance so that you don't miss out on some good offers. Planning the dates can actually save you a lot of money, because if you are planning around the public holidays or just a weekend trip, it's probably going to be a bit more expensive. If you are still a student or you have a flexible job, it's very affordable, because you can literally fly on a random Tuesday and come back also on a day that it's not connected to coming back to work. So I think that's one of the most important things, like the dates of your trip. Next big thing is transportation. So how are you going to get to your destination? By flight, bus, train, or a car, or anything else is definitely a big thing if you are traveling on a budget. From my experience, I did take a lot of flights because they ended up being way cheaper even than trains or buses sometimes. In this video we're gonna have a lot of topics about flexibility. It's how it is. You either pay more and save time, or you spend more time traveling and then you pay less. For the flights, I usually check them on Skyscanner, but I also heard that Google Flights is a good option. And then the next thing is that I always actually book on the original website, because I even heard that sometimes if you book through some other websites you can't check in. So I would avoid these things and go always through the official website. And if you are still checking and you're not sure about the dates or exactly where do you want to go, because also on Skyscanner you can put like from your city to anywhere and just check the cheapest flights, definitely use the incognito mode, because when you go through your profile they see that you are searching for something specific, and then when you go next time on this website the prices might increase, so that's not something we want. And it's very important for the flights to act fast, because if you think, oh no, I'm just gonna wait a couple of days and think about it, it's gonna get double and you don't want that. It happened to me a few times, but it was mostly because I was depending on other people and just waiting for someone else to as well book with me. I think you should also keep in mind maybe other cities around you that have smaller airports, because those are usually airports where some cheap companies fly to. In the end, if the flight is cheaper, I mean, you can just calculate how much you would take to get there and then how much is the flight, rather than flying from your closest airport, because sometimes it's really like the airports that are closer to the city are always more expensive. I also wanted to show you how I do the options for the flights, for example. This is from the last year when I went to pick up my visa from Paris to Rome. So I had to find the best option in the fastest period possible. So let's say here I had 2 options to go to Rome and 1, 2, 3, 4 to come back to Paris. As I told you, I check on Skyscanner. So here I was checking, for example, from Orly to Venice, Venice, and then from Venice to Rome it was a Flixbus, because this would be the cheaper option to fly to Venice than to Rome directly, or to fly from Orly in Paris to Malpensa in Milano, and then from the airport take a Flixbus, and then from the center to Rome to take the ITA bus, which is the local Italian company. So you see, for example, here it was 10 euros just to go from Milan to Rome, and then in the end 105 euros was in total, which was even cheaper than just to fly directly from Paris to Rome. And then coming back also, like, I was trying to figure out how much would it cost to go to Orly, which is the better airport in Paris, or to Beauvais, which is the far one. So I would have to take a bus as well and stuff like this. I'm always considering more things, so I think this is how you can also write down a few options and then in the end just circle the best one that works the best for you with the time and money. So yeah. Do you like my notebook? As for the trains, I really love them, but it's more unlikely that I'm gonna use them. When I lived in Italy, when I was doing my master's, I was using trains a lot because there is a regional train that literally 5 minutes before the train departs is the same price as few days in advance. But usually if you would use a train to go from one country to another, it can get super expensive if you're waiting for a longer time. It's kind of like flights, so you have to be fast to book the good priced trains. I only once did the train that it's like between the two countries, and it was last year from Amsterdam to Paris, and it was an amazing experience, honestly. 2.5 hours from the city center of Amsterdam to the city center of Paris went like this, but I paid 60 euros, which is, I think, okay for the distance and how fast you come. But if I took a bus, it would be 20 euros and 7 hours. And I remember I booked that train like 2 months in advance. I usually check trains on Trainline app or Omio, and this is where they give you a lot of options. You can even check the buses on these apps. But speaking about buses, we are going to next topic. Cheapest option, but usually longer. Last year, I should have gotten an award for taking buses because I was living in Madrid and my boyfriend was here in Paris, and I used to take a bus sometimes, which was 16 hours. But looking back now, I'm like, how many times did I actually do it? It was a lot. Flixbus is my favorite company that you can use in Europe. Also, BlaBlaCar has buses, so that's very good. Sometimes even more affordable than Flixbuses, and sometimes they are even more comfortable because the seats are a bit further away from each other, so you have more leg space, which is very important if you're taking a night bus. I'm someone who can sleep in a bus 100% of the time. If it's a night bus, you're gonna see me falling asleep and waking up on my destination. So this is the perfect thing for me, but of course it depends on you. One thing just about this whole budget traveling is that usually the cheapest thing is just to travel with your backpack, and I'm gonna leave you here the video I did, I think 2 or 3 years ago, how to pack in a backpack for 7 days, so maybe that's gonna help you. But if I'm going with the buses and I can have extra luggage, I try to have a tote bag with my backpack or something that I can take up with me, because trust me, it happened to people I know that their luggage gets stolen and stuff like this that maybe you wouldn't like to experience in your trip. So I would definitely recommend having some smaller bags that you can keep up rather than a big suitcase. Of course, I traveled with suitcases, I moved countries with 2 big suitcases and no one stole them, but maybe if you're unlucky it can happen. If you can handle buses, I think you are halfway there to travel on a budget. And honestly, sometimes it's so cheap to go from one country to another country within Europe, because you can just take a bus that it's like 10 euros or 15 euros and end up in another country in few hours. I think that's very good. Talking about the accommodations, if you're traveling alone like I did a few times in my life, there are actually good youth hostels where you can stay in a dormitory with other people, but usually these youth hostels have age limits. So let's say under the age of 30 or 35 is allowed to stay, meaning they're just trying to increase safety and just to make sure that everybody who's there is young or around the same age. And it's a good thing if you are traveling alone, as a girl especially. You can book only girls' dormitory and avoid being in mixed rooms if that makes you uncomfortable. So that's a pretty good thing that they started doing around Europe, and I think it's very, very safe. Last year I stayed in Amsterdam and the hostel was in the city center, so it was a very good location. There were only girls in the room. I stayed only one night. I would definitely go there back again if I was going alone. And even if you are a bigger group, it's always an experience to go to hostels and meet other young people, so you would get lower prices than staying in a hotel or even Airbnbs. Also, if you're traveling a lot with someone or your family is traveling but you're always kind of booking for them, which happens to me sometimes, it's good to do it all on one account. So for example, I have a booking account that I always book trips on it, so the more you book, the more discounts later you get. Also, it's just another thing to be open to stay in lower rated places. And I'm not speaking about the places that have no shower or anything, but just it doesn't have to be a 5-star hotel. If you're traveling on a budget, you can easily go in a 2-star hotel. Mostly those places are also clean and normal, but not so luxurious. And if you're a big explorer like I am, I'm gonna spend most of the day, even like 99% of the day outside, and just go back to the accommodation to sleep. So I don't need it to be so fancy. And I'm even more excited if my accommodation is different. For example, last year we wanted to go to Barcelona, but then we found this boat like maybe 30 minutes away from Barcelona, but we had an amazing experience sleeping on a boat, and then you wake up and there are other boats and it's like super cute environment, just like something new. For someone who never slept on a boat, this was so exciting, and staying on a boat was so much cheaper than being in Barcelona in a hotel. Maybe some things that I'm saying in this video is like common sense, but also I just want to say step by step how I'm actually doing things. So if someone doesn't really know or didn't travel so much, you can think about different things and just like get some ideas from me. So that's why I'm also mentioning boats and hostels and traveling alone and do this thing and do this thing, so that you can also be encouraged. Maybe if you are alone and no one wants to travel with you, or maybe some people are more busy, just go alone and explore some place even for 2-3 days. It's gonna be for sure a nice experience and you're gonna learn something new. So I definitely support solo traveling. And another thing to save money when you are somewhere is to use their public transportation. So not just their public buses, for example, but also you can use their local bikes. I know that it's easy to download Lime or some international bike company, but these things are usually in the end more expensive. Even if you are somewhere for just a few days, it doesn't hurt to download the app and then delete it afterwards. Last year, for example, when we went to Marseille for 5 days, I downloaded the app for their local bike and it was so cheap. We were basically biking everywhere because even it was cheaper than the buses. And I know that sometimes maybe it's an urgent thing to use Uber or something like this, but try to avoid those things, at least during the day when the transportation is working well. Another thing that a lot of my money goes to when I'm traveling is food. I love to go to a new place, to try their local food, just walk around, breathe the air of this new city and enjoy the views. But of course, food makes everything better. So I love to find local restaurants that are not so popular, because then they are also cheaper, rather than something that is viral on TikTok and there is a 1-hour queue in front of it. Maybe these places in the end are not so worth it. And I even see the hype here in Paris. I mean, okay, this is Paris really, so a lot of places are really popular because of the TikTok and social media, but in the end there are equivalently good or even better places that you can go to, and there is no queue and it's more traditional and local. It's all about the deeper research, and even if you didn't have maybe time to plan very good this trip that you are going to before the trip, sometimes it happens to me, but then if I'm on the way, if I'm in the bus or at the airport waiting for my flight, I like to check out some things and just write down where I can go which day. So one of the last things is actually trying to find the cheap activities or free, because I like to also explore on different websites what other people, travel bloggers, or in general what people like to see in this city. And then I also watch some YouTube videos if there are about this place, just getting information from different sites. And usually in every city there is a lot of free activities, just going to the park, museums at some certain time of the day, or some certain day maybe they are free or cheaper for the public. Or for example, in February we went to Santander in Spain, and there was like a free city walking tour, and just stuff like this that you can find either on the way or asking someone local, asking your host. For sure, people who are hosting homes, Airbnbs, hotels. They all know about some free things that they can recommend as well. Or it can happen that this trip was so affordable and the accommodation and everything, so you want to spend a bit more money on the things that you want to see, go to some bigger museum or do some local activities, wine tasting, chocolate tasting, going to underground tunnels and stuff like this. So it all depends, of course, on your priorities. And of course, in the end, you don't have to do it all in one trip. And yeah, actually, after this video, probably you're gonna see me in a new country because we booked this trip for the long weekend and can't wait to see something new that I didn't so far. And I would also like to hear from you some of the tips and tricks about traveling, and where was your favorite trip so far? Tell me, share it in the comments with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful a bit, and I hope you see you soon back on my channel. Thank you so much. Bye.